This is what it's like to be Sephardi, huh? Hashem Ashreichem. You have such good children at 2 o'clock in the morning, Hashem. No wonder what keeps you guys going. I feel guilty every year to come and speak on Hoshana Rabah night at the middle of the evening, 2 o'clock in the morning, because everybody is a little bit tired. I'm tired myself. I fell asleep 6 times on the way over here from the valley. But the Ben Ish Chai writes that it's such a big mitzvah to sleep in the sukkah, that if you find someone who's falling asleep outside of the sukkah, you have to give them a tap, you have to wake them up to make sure they don't fall asleep outside the sukkah. So I feel a little guilty because I know most people in the middle of the night, they start to fall asleep when they go to a shiur. So if you start to fall asleep and I start banging on the table, you know it's just that I don't want to be guilty to transgress the words of the Ben Ish Chai. I don't want to put you to sleep outside the sukkah. So if we bang on the table, it's just so I don't feel so guilty, okay? That's why eating the cholent. Okay, good.
Only for Ben Ish Chai.
Tomorrow morning after Shacharit, by the Ashkenazim, we all wish each other Piska Tova, Pitka Tova, which means a good note. After davening, the prayers are over, we wish each other, we hope that you had a good note from Hashem. What is that statement that we are saying? It's based on a Zohar. And the Zohar says like this: B'yayim Shviya Dechag, on the 7th day of the Chag Sukkot, Hoshana Rabah, Husiyuma Didina Da'alma. It's the completion of the judgment of the entire world. Today, Yom Shvi'i, the 7th day, is the completion of the din of the judgment. Upiskin nafkim mibei malka, and there are notes that are coming out of the house of the king. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the king. He's concluding the siyum, the conclusion of all of the judgments that he was making, and he's sending notes to each and every one of us that we should know what the judgment is going to be that we received. On this day, the king gives over the notes, these notes, we hope Bezat Hashem that they're good, to his malachim, his angels that are in charge. On the first day of the month, Rosh Chodesh, Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, that was the beginning of the judgment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was making for us. V'siyumahu, but the end of the judgment is B'hayyoyma, is today. So let's understand what the Zohar is saying before we begin asking our questions. The Zohar says very clearly, on the 7th day of the Chag, that is today, Hoshana Rabah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is concluding the judgment that he began on Rosh Chodesh, on Tishrei, on Rosh Hashanah. And he is sending over to all of us a petek, a note, that tells us what the judgment is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to each and every one of us. This is very hard to understand. We all are God-fearing Jews. We all believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We believe in what we learned from the time that we're children, what the Torah teaches us, what Chazal teach us. Rosh Hashanah Yika Tevu. On Rosh Hashanah is written, V'yom Som Kippur Yichatemu. It is sealed. And that's how we go. At the end of Ne'ilah, when everybody's jumping up and down and screaming Hashem Elokim, we know that's the Chatimah, that's the end. We say by Ne'ilah, Nachtemu, Chatmeinu L'chaim, seal us for life. The Zohar is saying, well, guess what was happening? Since the end of Ne'ilah until now, and it's going to be the end of Shacharit tomorrow, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not Mesayem. He did not complete the judgment. He didn't send down the decree. He didn't send down the order. He didn't give the note of exactly what's going to happen to you. What's happening over here? Did HaKadosh Baruch Hu decide on Yom Kippur? He didn't decide on Yom Kippur. Is there something that's going on that we're not aware of between Yom Kippur and the 7th day of the Chag? There's something we don't know about? Besides that, we all gained about 7 pounds at least for every single day of the Chag. Is there something we don't know? What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu changing? What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu adding? What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu making different right now in the world that somehow, even though that He already wrote it and He already signed it, He didn't give over yet exactly what He was deciding to do with us? What exactly is happening over here on Hoshana Rabah? Let's think back a little bit. Elul, Slichot, Rosh Hashanah, Seret Yemei Tshuva, Yom Kippur. What were we trying to do during those days? What were we asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do for us? We have to make an accounting of all the chatoim, of all of the sins that we did last year. There's so many sins that we did, we can't even make an accounting. There's maybe millions, believe it or not, millions that we did wrong. So we can't. We're not going to tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, forgive me for the millions of things I did wrong. Every word of lashon hara that you spoke. You know how terrible it is in Shemayim? You know that every wife knows when her husband goes to a chatuna, a wedding, especially by the Persians, although the women forget to wear their clothes when they come to the wedding. Every wife, she's in the other room, she's eating sushi, and she knows when you start looking at another lady. She calls you, you're looking right now? What are you talking about? I'm by the shmorg over here, I'm getting some corned beef. You're looking, aren't you? Every wife knows exactly what her husband is doing. Every look that you took, every word of tefillah that you said below kavanah. That means that every time that your mind started thinking about the stocks and Tesla and Biden and Elon Musk and Planet X, whatever's going on up there, every time that you were bowing down, you were thinking about that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was keeping track. And Rabotai, those are the gentle averot that we did this year. Halavai, that's all that we did. So we come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is judging us. And we say, Hashem, I don't deserve anything. I don't have the zechutim, I don't have the merits, I don't have everything in place. I know I did a lot of wrong. But I want you to judge me favorably. I want you to give me a shana tova umetuka. I want it to be a good year, a sweet year. I want parnasa tova, I want bracha, I want briut, I want success. I want all the things that we ask for in the tefillot, the whole Rosh Hashanah. Kodesh Baruch, I don't deserve it. I'm asking you not just for a favor. I'm asking you for a nes. I need a miracle, Hashem. There's no way that I deserve that you should give me another year of life. There's no way that I deserve that you should load me up with all the brachot. I don't deserve it. I know that I don't deserve it. But I'm asking you anyway. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you are the Kel Malei Rachamim. You are the God of mercy, which means that you are willing to have mercy on me on these days when you are judging me and make a nes, make a miracle. You're going to judge me the tovah for the good. That's what we're asking Hashem. And on Rosh Hashanah we get very inspired. And the davening and the singing and all the divrei Torah and everything, we're very inspired. And then we go into the Seret Yemei Tshuva. The Seret Yemei Tshuva says the Shulchan Aruch, you got to be a good boy. You have to behave yourself very well. You know what you need to do to make sure that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that you're serious about your tshuva? Just make sure you eat Pat Yisrael. That's it. All year long, I'm speaking lashon hara. All year long, I don't go to minyan. All year long, I miss my learning. All year long, I looked at the wrong places. I did the wrong things. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know, you did such a good job convincing me on Rosh Hashanah. I just need to see a little bit more from you. Make sure that instead of going to Ralph's to buy your bread, you go across the street, you might patch yourself. That's it. Say our Bali Musar. What are Chazal telling us? Chazal are telling us that when a Jew does something small, something so tiny, it's the difference of going to one store and the other store and eating one bread instead of the other bread, something so small, in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's very big. The small little things that a Jew does down here in this world, In the eyes of Hashem, it's gigantic. Because our neshamot are gigantic. Our kochot, our potential is huge. What we could accomplish is ginormous, as they say. And therefore, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, show me a little bit, and that little bit is going to go a very, very long way in my eyes, says Hashem. We go through the Seder Tshuva, and we come to the holy day of Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur, everybody's malachim. We don't eat. We don't drink. We don't wear shoes. We don't wash ourselves. We don't put oil on ourselves. You can't even spray the stuff in your hair to make yourself look very good over there. Not even that. And the whole day we are praying and praying and tshuva and tshuva and tshuva and tshuva and tshuva. And we're acting in a way that is finds so much favor in the eyes of Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a hard time to say no to us. But let's think for a moment about time. From the time of the beginning of Elul until the last Hashem Hu Elokim at the end of Ne'ilah, did anybody change so much? Is anybody such a different person than they were when they began waking up for Slichot in the beginning of Elul? Did you transform? You know, they have all of these wonderful places you can go in Los Angeles. There used to be a place near me in the valley. It's called the New You. What's the New You? You don't like your nose? We'll give you a new nose. You don't like your cheeks? We'll give you new cheeks. You don't like your hairline that keeps receding? We'll give you a new hairline. You don't like this? You don't like that? We'll transform you. We'll make you a new you. You go in there, you spend a few $100,000, you're brand new. But it's not true, because the person inside is exactly the same, probably even worse after all of this. Did anybody become a new you, a completely different person from the time of Elul until the end of Yom Kippur? I'll only speak for myself. I tried. I worked on myself. I made a little bit of movement in the right direction, but I can tell you, I did not become a new person. I did not change completely. I didn't become the new you, an overhaul, wipe away all the bad midot, get rid of all the Yetzer Hara, become a malach, become a tzaddik. Didn't do such a thing. I don't know, maybe in Pico Robinson they do become a new person. Maybe they are an overhaul. Maybe they do have a whole new person, a new identity. But in general, everybody knows that you don't change that much. And now we're coming on Yom Kippur, and we're begging HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please Hashem, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. I'm so sorry I did all these bad things this year. Will you please forgive me? What are we asking Hashem to do? We're asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu to make the biggest nace, the biggest miracle in the world. Hashem is the Dayan HaEmet. He's the judge of truth. Truth means I must examine the whole picture that's in front of me. If the guy is being held up on trial for a hit and run, and I have video footage that shows him smash into the car and then drive off and leave them there with all their damages, so the camera doesn't lie. The man hit the car and he ran off and he tried to escape the law. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the camera, and it's watching us all year long, every single second, 24/7, 365. That's how it works. Did you sin or you didn't sin? You said the words of Lashon Hara, you didn't say the words of Lashon Hara. You looked where you shouldn't, or you didn't look where you shouldn't. You were on the internet at 4 o'clock in the morning when your wife is sleeping looking at pornography. You didn't look at it. What did you do? Hashem knows everything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching every little thing that we do. And then we do tshuva. After a while, it hurts, you know? We're not even doing real tshuva. But we say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, forgive me for everything I did this year. Dayana Emet. But I have it all on footage. I saw everything that you did. Hashem, I'm asking to make a miracle. And the miracle is, you're willing to wipe away all the sins that I did, make me clean like a Malach Hashem, and give me a good year. Hashem says, you came to Beit HaKnesset. You went to Shacharit, Musaf, Mincha, Ne'ilah. You said Al Chait. You said Hashamnu, Bagadnu. I saw even there was one tear that was in your eye. It's true, it was allergies. That's why you were tearing up in your eyes. But it looked like it was a real tear on Yom Kippur. I'm going to forgive you. I'll make the miracle, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to forgive you for everything that you did. But there's one condition, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you want me to make a nace, and you want me to make a miracle for you, and you want me to use my midat harachamim and forgive you mercifully for everything that you did wrong, the Horowitz writes in his Sefer Avad Chesed, not every single person is zocheh l'nisim. Not every single person is worthy of miracles. Only someone that has very great zechuyot, very great merits, is going to merit to have a miracle done for him. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In reality, you don't have all the zechusim that you need to get the miracle of Yom Kippur, Slicha, Mechila, the Kapara. The truth is, Hashem says, in my world of emet, of truth, even though you did tshuva, wasn't good enough to be absolved from everything that you did wrong. But I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to make a nace, but it's on one condition. I want to see how you act after Yom Kippur. I want to see if what you're claiming on Yom Kippur that you changed and you're different and you're going to be better and you're going to be holier and you're going to elevate yourself. I want to see if you mean it for real or it was just lip service that you were giving me on Yom Kippur. So you know what I'm going to give you? I'm going to give you 4 days after Kippur, Sukkah. And for 4 days you're going to be busy. Busy with mitzvot. You have to go buy the lulav and the etrog. You have to build the sukkah. You have to go to the store 1,000 times for your wife to make sure she has everything that she needs. You have to take care of the kids. You have to make sure there's money in the bank. You have to learn Torah. You have to go daven. You have to do all these things. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want to see. Are you the person that you said that you were on Yom Kippur? You said, trust me, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to change. Trust me, Hashem, I deserve a nace. I deserve your rachamim. Is it true you really deserve it? Says Hashem. Let me see how you behave. And then we go into the sukkah. What's the sukkah? There's only 3 mitzvot in Kol Torah Kulo where the entire body of a person goes into that mitzvah. One is called Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. When a person has the zechut to live in Eretz Yisrael, the whole body is in the Holy Land. There's something called the mikvah. You go into the mikvah, as we know, if your pinky is sticking out of the mikvah, mikvah doesn't work. You have one hair sticking out of the mikvah doesn't work. The mikvah is the whole body goes into the mikvah and purifies you. There's one other mitzvah. The whole person goes into the mitzvah. I take myself, I take my mind, I take my heart, I take my mouth, I take my actions, I take my ears, I take it all. And I go inside the sukkah. And in the sukkah, Chazal teach us, we learn that everything that a person does inside the sukkah is a mitzvah. That's why the Shulchan Aruch writes, you should eat in the sukkah. There are people that are very makpid. They don't eat or drink anything outside the sukkah. How you stay awake on Hoshana Rabah night, if you do that, I have no idea. But there are people that will not even put a glass of 1 sip of water into their mouth outside the sukkah. Why? Because everything is a mitzvah in the sukkah. I sleep, it's a mitzvah. I learn, double mitzvah. I daven, extra mitzvah. I'm l'tayal, it says even, take a trip. You don't have to go to Knott's Berry Farm on Sukkot. You can just walk around the table in your sukkah. There's also a trip. A person gets elevated over there. Everything that a person does in the sukkah becomes a mitzvah. And it's teaching me a lesson. The person that I said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I promised Hashem on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, I'm a different person. I'm a better person. I'm an elevated person. I'm a changed person. When I spend the week inside the Sukkah, I show HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I was serious what I was saying. I wasn't kidding Hashem. And therefore, the rachamim, the mercy that you had on me, the nace, the miracle that you made for me, the chesed that you did, that on Yom Kippur, on Rosh Hashanah, Yikatevu, you wrote down what is going to be the wonderful year that I'm going to have. The Yom Sam Kippur Yechatevu, and on Yom Kippur, you sealed it. But you're waiting on Kodesh Baruch Hu before you send down the Piska Toiva, the good note. You're waiting to see, do I really deserve what you are giving me? How does Hashem know? He sees how we behave on Sukkot. So certainly anybody that comes for a whole night of learning on Hoshana Rabah, and he sits and he learns and he says all the tikkunim that you're going to say, and you come and you pray the Neitz Minyan, and you shake the lulav and the etrog one more time, and you smash the aravot on the ground, certainly that is a person who is showing HaKadosh Baruch Hu that what I said on Rosh Hashanah, what I claimed on Yom Kippur, the person I said that I want to be the up and coming year, you're showing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's 100% true. And therefore says the Zohar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He delays in sending the petek, He delays in sending the gift that He's going to give us to make sure that we're worthy of receiving it. But it's also on the other side. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a miracle. He gave us all a good judgment on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Let's say, I'm sorry. Let's say that Chas v'Chalila He didn't. Let's say that in Shemayim HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching us and He sees the prayers on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Could have been better. You know, you came home after one of the davening on Rosh Hashanah and you were expecting that your wife made, I don't know, gondi, and you come home and instead she made you a steak. In your house growing up, Rosh Hashanah first day, it's always gondi. Your wife made you a steak, what's that all about? And you come home Rosh Hashanah and you look at the table and you give your wife one of those looks. You know the look that you give your wife? That look. And your wife now in Rosh Hashanah, she feels so bad. And then you just came from shul, Hashem, give me life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bracha, panasat tova, vinu malkeinu. And you come home, you make your wife feel bad on Rosh Hashanah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I don't know, I can't give this person the judgment that he wants. Yeah, Rosh Hashanah yigatevu, v'yom tzom kippur yichatemu. Maybe it doesn't look so good. Chas v'chalila. Hashem says, but I'm Kel Malei Rachaman. I'm the God of mercy. I'm the God of kindness. I'm the God of chesed. I'm going to give you a chance to sweeten the din. I'll give you a chance to change my mind. I don't have to send over the petak yet. I can change it all around on these days of Sukkot. If I see, what is the Daled Minim? The etrog is the heart. The lulav is the spine. The hadassim are the eyes, the einayim. The arav is the mouth. If I see you on Sukkot, that you are unifying the different parts of your body for the sake of Avodat Hashem. If I see that with your eyes you're looking at the right things, and your mouth you're saying the right things, and your heart has the right emotions, and your back is strong and sturdy to the mitzvot. If I see that, says Hashem, I'm going to rethink. I'm going to recalculate. I'm going to change my mind from what I decided on the Tzom Kippur of the Yichatemu that you wouldn't be so happy with. I'll change it. Says the Zohar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu finished judging. He made the judgments, but He doesn't conclude everything until today. When he sends down the pitkin, he sends down the notes min hashamayim to show us what we're really going to get. So on one hand, if we deserved good, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to make sure we're behaving ourselves during this time, that we're acting in a way that he sees that we really meant what we said. And if Chalila Chas v'Shalom, a person did not get the judgment that they wanted to get on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, a person can change the judgment based on the way they behave during the Chag HaSukkot. Zman Simchatenu. That's up to you. Now, even if you didn't know this until right now, you still have a few hours till Shacharit. And then you have all of Shacharit. Then you have all day Hoshana Rabah. If a person will act on this day the way that we said we're going to be, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Piska Toiva, a good note is going to come from Shemayim. I'm going to give it to you. There was a young man, let's call him Moshe. When he was in high school, he was not the best kid in the world, and he started getting mixed up with the wrong crowd. And anybody who knows anyone that ever got mixed up with the wrong crowd knows you don't want to get mixed up with the wrong crowd. It doesn't go very well. And he met some bad kids, and they started getting involved in petty theft. And they would rob a little store over here, and they would take the purse away from the old lady over here, and they would do this and that, not doing good things. So usually the way that it works in the world of Tumah, in the world of impurity, is it doesn't stop there. Haba Matame, someone who comes to impurify themselves, everything opens up. And this boy went from one Aveirah to the other before you know it. He's a young guy. He's getting involved in bribes. He's getting involved with the IRS, and he's being very, very shady, very tricky in the way that he's extorting money out of the government itself. Now, anybody that's watched the news over the years knows you can't really hide from Uncle Sam. He's watching what you do. He's aware of things. Someone's going to spill the beans and leak, and you're going to end up getting caught at the end of the day. And this young man, single fellow, this young man ends up getting arrested for embezzling, hundreds of thousands of dollars from the government of the United States of America. And that's a big, big crime. So much so, they put him into jail, and they tell this guy, you're going to get the book thrown at you. You are in big trouble, buddy. So he gets out on bail. And he was, a frum, grew up a religious kid. And he realizes he's in big trouble. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is getting back in him right now. And he says, well, I need help. I need help. What am I going to do? So there was a great Hasidic Rebbe that lived there, I believe in New York at the time. And his name was the Ribnitzer Rebbe. And he goes to the Holy Ribnitzer, and he comes in and he starts bawling and crying and breaking down like a baby and telling him, Rebbe, I made so many mistakes. I got involved with the wrong people when I was younger, and I started off with little petty theft and stealing this and that. And the next thing I know, I'm embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the government. I'm in big trouble. They said they're going to throw me into jail. Could be for decades. Well, Rebbe, I'm a young boy. What can I do? So the Rebbe looks in and he says, two things. First of all, get yourself a good lawyer. That's number one. Second of all, when you go to court and they try your case and the defense or the prosecuting attorney has given all the details, all the facts, everything, all the evidence against you, and your defense attorney has defended you to the best of his abilities, if the judge is going to ask you the following question, do you have anything else to say for yourself? If the judge will ask you that question, I want you to take out a machzor, and I want you to take out the vidui. And I want you to start saying vidui, there inside of the courtroom. But not just lip service. You have to say it like you mean it. That you're apologizing for everything you've done to the extent you need to cry your eyes out while you're saying it. So the young man looks at the Rebbe and says, in the court, I should say vidui? He says, in the court, you should say vidui. And you say it, and you'll see HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take care of it. Okay? He walks out of the Rebbe's private chambers. He finds himself a good lawyer. And they start going through the case, and the lawyer says, listen, buddy, you're in big trouble. You know, you could be a illegal alien who's carrying cocaine, a machete, and a submachine gun, and come into the country and nothing will happen to you. But if you steal $100,000 from America, that's it, you're finished. You're in big trouble. He said, but I'll try my best. So the guy said, okay, fine. He said, listen, my dear lawyer, one thing I want to tell you about that's going to happen in the court. And I just need you to understand what's going on. If the judge will ask me at the end, do you have anything else to say for yourself? I want you to know that I'm going to pull out this special prayer book, this Jewish prayer book. It has something called vidui, which is confession. And there in the courtroom, I'm going to begin doing the confessional, which means I'll pound myself on my chest. I might start crying. It's going to be emotional for me, but I'm going to do that in the courtroom. So the lawyer says, oh, okay. So he says, let me just show you. I want to show you what I'm saying over here so you'll understand what I'm doing. And he starts telling him, see, I'm atoning for the sin that I did knowingly, the one that I did unknowingly. This one is for speaking badly. This one is for stealing. This one is for being licentious. This one is for being immoral. All these things. Okay. Says the lawyer, fine. That's what you want to do. That's what you're going to do. No problem. They go to court, and it's not looking good. The defense has a file this big on it. The prosecutor has a file this big on it. It's got every single thing that this kid has done in the last 10 years of his life. And the defense attorney comes and he begins defending him, and he's telling him, you know, this and this and this. But it's clear as day. This kid is losing the battle. And everybody rests. The defense rests, the prosecuting attorney rests. The judge is looking, he's got the gavel in his hand already, he's ready just to bang it on the thing. This man is guilty as charged. And at the last moment, he turns to this young man, Moshe, and he says, and do you have anything else to say for yourself? So he says, yes, I do. And he pulls out his machzor, and he stands up in front of the judge, and he begins saying, Shavanu, Bhagavanu. Starts saying every single word, but he's saying it like he never said vidui before in his whole life. And he starts crying, and the judge is looking, what in the world is going on over here? So the lawyer, a goy, comes over and says, listen, judge, he told me he's going to end up doing this. He says, what is he saying? He's saying a confessional. He says, what confessional is he saying? Well, he talks about the sins that he committed knowingly, the sins he committed unknowingly. He's talking about theft. He's talking about evil speech. He's talking about immorality. He's talking about the things that his eyes saw that he should not have seen. And he starts going through a list of all the different things. And the judge is sitting there watching. And the man is doing it over and over and over. And he's crying and he's heaving like a baby, just crying and crying and crying. And when he finishes his final words of vidui of the confession, the judge bangs the gavel and he says, case dismissed. And the prosecutor says, what? Case dismissed? Who had a file this big on him? We showed everything. And the judge says, case dismissed. He said, I've been a judge for over 30 years. I've seen every kind of case you could imagine. I've seen every thief, every murderer, I've seen every immoral person under the sun. And most of the people that come here when they're standing on trial, they have no regret at all for anything that they've done. Some of them, when they come here, they have regret. And they will apologize. But they always will apologize only for the crime that they committed that got them into court in the first place. And this man is here. He's not only regretting and apologizing for the sins that he committed that got him in trouble. He is having charata. He has regret for everything that he's done wrong. This I've never seen in my life. But I can tell you one thing. Someone who has regret for everything they've done wrong is a person that will never go back to sinning and making the same mistakes again. Case dismissed. I have nothing to worry about with this man. I'm letting him off free. I see he's a changed person. This is the time between Yom Kippur and Hoshana Rabah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard us saying, please Hashem, Chasmeinu L'chaim, sign me for life. Please HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm sorry I did this, I'm sorry I did that, I'm sorry I did that. I'm a better person, I'll be a better person, I'll change. Says Hashem, will you? How do I know? Trust me, Hashem, you can trust me. How do I know? How do I know on Yom Kippur when you're a Malach Hashem, when you didn't eat and you didn't drink and you're not wearing shoes, and you're praying all day long in the Beit HaKnesset, and you're saying, I'm sorry, how do I know after Yom Kippur you're going to be like that? Maybe this is just a joke. Maybe it's just a play, it's a charade. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to give you a test. Sukkah. Sukkah Dalet Minim. If I see the way that you behave during this time, you put yourself into the sukkah, and you realize that your whole life is mitzvot, and your whole life is immersed in Avodat Hashem, and your whole life is becoming an elevated person, and you take your eyes and your mouth and your heart and your spine and you put it all together to serve Hashem. If I see that during this precious time, then I know you changed. You might not be totally different, but I know that you're on the path. I know you're on the road. I know you're trying to get to the right place. And if you're trying to get to the right place, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's good enough for me. And it's worthwhile to make an ace for you. The miracle of life, the miracle of forgiveness, the miracle of tshuva, it works for you. And therefore, like the says in the Zayar over here, that v'siyumahu b'yoyim ahu, the siyum, the completion of everything is this day, and the pitkin tovim, the good notes, are going to come down from Shemayim for each and every single one of you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you the Shana Tova, the good year, the sweet year, the good year. Who doesn't need brachot this year? Who doesn't need some kind of yeshuot, some salvation this year? Who doesn't need something that you've been waiting for and waiting for and waiting for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Who doesn't need it? Everybody needs something. You want it, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Show me that you're real. Show me that you're sincere. Show me that you're making the changes. Little by little, by little, by little, by little. You do that, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Pitka Tova. Whether you deserved it from beforehand, and I already made the miracle, or whether it was a shaky judgment from beforehand, I can change it all tonight. So if you're sitting here, like I said, and you're learning so amazingly, so then that's such a zechut, such a merit that you have. You're showing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I meant what I said. And perhaps this is why the very end of Sukkot is not really Sukkot. The end of Sukkot, which is going to start tomorrow night, is Shmini Atzeret. What is Shmini Atzeret? Shmini Atzeret is the day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu added to the Yom Tov of Sukkot, because He says, I need one more day together with all of you, Klal Yisrael. Now that I see who you really are, now that I see where you got to, Now where I see how you're going to live your life as committed Jews in a way that you were not living it last year. And you're sincere, and you're real, you're amiti, you're true about it. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kasha alai predatchem. If you're just going to go back now and leave the Sukkah, and leave the Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the Chagim, you're going to leave it all behind? I can't take that, Hashem. Says Hashem. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting till you get to this special place in your life where you're living at such a heightened level. Now that you're there, after Hoshana Rabah, now that you're there, you prove to me that you're true. I can't let you leave so fast. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give me one more day. Shmini Atzeret Simchat Torah. Give me one more day that we can enjoy each other, that I can enjoy you, I can watch you, I can see you. And what's the siyum of everything? Simchat Torah. What do we do Simchat Torah? There's no special mitzvot, no lulav and etrog, no sukkah, we don't eat any special foods, nothing. One thing, celebrate with the Torah, dance with the Torah. Shoah Kodesh Baruch Hu Hashem, I know and I recognize and I understand the only thing that's going to keep me close to you the whole year, the only thing that's going to keep me near you, that which is going to keep me on the elevated level that I can use my eyes and my mouth and my heart and my spine for the right things, that I'll realize that everything I'm doing is a mitzvah. The only thing is the Torah. And that's the biggest simcha in the world. And therefore says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, dance. Dance and dance and dance and dance like you mean it. Because you realize I'm giving you the greatest gift in the entire universe. This is the gift that was in the private chambers of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he said, I'll give it to you. Leki leka achtoiv natati lechem. Torati al ta'azovu. That this is my greatest gift. Don't abandon it. How do you show Hashem that you're not abandoning it? How you dance. You can't be inhibited on Simchat Torah. You have to dance. The Vilna Gaon was a very serious person, but on Simchat Torah he would dance like Dovid HaMelech danced when they brought back the Mishkan, when they brought back the Aron into Yerushalayim. Rav Elchanan Wasserman was one of the main students of the Horowitz. If you ever see a picture of him, he's always serious. He never looked beyond 4 Daled Amot. He always serious face. But on Simchat Torah, they said he was a very tall man, 6'3", 6'4". He would dance in front of the Horowitz like a child. He would go do kazachkas. He would jump up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, with the simcha of Torah. If you want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to solidify everything, and you want to make it strong between you and Hashem, like Dovid HaMelech says, Ki kirvas Elokim litayv, to be close to Hashem, that's the ultimate good. There's one way. Love the Torah. Embrace the Torah. Dance with the Torah. Sing with the Torah. Live with the Torah. Eat with the Torah. Everything with the Torah. And that's the way that we're going to hold on to it. And therefore Hashem says, as much as it's hard for me to see you leave me, I'm going to give you one last piece of advice, says Hashem. And if you follow this, you'll be able to stay close to me the whole year. Embrace the Torah in your life. Make it the most important thing. There's a lot of things in life that seem to be important, but the thing that is the most important is the Torah. It's our guidebook. It gives us all the advice in the world. It tells us how to live our life from the moment that we wake up in the morning until we go to sleep at night, and even while we are sleeping at night. It's the source of all the bracha, the source of all the parnasah, the source of shidduchim. It's the source of everything. It's all there in the Torah. Hafach ba ki kula ba. Go deeper and deeper and deeper, because everything is inside of the Torah. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you hold on. You hold on strong. You hold on tight. Then you're going to be with me the entire year. And that's what we're trying to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu on this night. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as a gift for our hard work during the Chag HaSukkot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing us, I'm giving you something so special. I'm giving you the Torah to keep all year, but hold it here. When you dance with the Torah on Simchat Torah, don't hold it on the right side of your chest. Hold it on the left side. Hold it on your heart. The Torah belongs on our heart. And if you embrace it, and you hug it, and you dance, and you sing, and you love what you're doing, the Torah is going to be in your heart all year long. I'll leave you off with one last story over here, just so we understand how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us. There was a young man in Kolel, in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael. His name was Yitzchak. And he had a real talent of dealing with young men who were what we call off the derech. Young men that were struggling in their Yiddishkeit, they were struggling in their mitzvot. For whatever reason it is, they're struggling. He had a real talent of reaching their hearts and getting inside of them. And so he would work with them. And eventually he left Kolel and he started some kind of a yeshiva. And he spent day and night looking for these kids on the streets, bringing them into the yeshiva, bringing them into his home, feeding them and nurturing them and nourishing them with the gashmiot and the ruchniot. And he became like their spiritual father and their guide. He was very successful in what he did. And all of his students, they loved him. One day, unfortunately, a very big tragedy happened in his family. He had a young boy, about 6 or 7 years old, who was walking across the streets of Yerushalayim, and you know they have these very big Egged buses, and sometimes the kids, they jump out at the wrong time. This kid jumped out at the wrong time, and Rahman al-Islam, he was hit by the bus, and he died on the spot. And it was a tragedy that was beyond compare. The father and the mother, they were sitting Shiva. They were unconsolable. They were in so much pain. This boy was a little tzaddik boy, so pure, like an angel of Jerusalem. Unconsolable. Somewhere in the middle of the Shiva, about 10 of his students walk in to come be Menachem Avel, to come pay a Shiva call to their Rebbe. And they come in, and these kids, not religious, they don't keep kosher, they don't keep Shabbat, who knows all the things they're doing, but they love this Rebbe because he's bringing them back. And they're sitting there in front of him and they say, Rebbe, we want to tell you, we were thinking how much pain you and your wife must be in, the loss of your son. We remember your son, he was such a little tzaddik. So we're thinking, what can we do? What can we do for his neshama? What can we do to elevate him in the world to come? And they said, we decided that this Shabbat, all of us, for the first time in many years, we're all going to keep Shabbat. We're not going to be on our phones. We're not going to get in a car. We're not even going to tear the toilet paper. We're going to keep Shabbat the way that we're supposed to keep Shabbat. It should be a zechut, aliyah neshama, for your son. And the Rebbe looks at his Talmidim, and he begins hugging and kissing every single one of them, and the tears are streaming down his eyes, and he's saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. For the first time the entire week, someone gave me nechama. You consoled me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't know what you've done for me. And the boys were crying, and he's crying, his wife is crying, and everybody feels so good. And then the boys leave. And somebody who's sitting in the room says, I don't understand. These kids said they're going to keep one Shabbos, one Shabbat, and that suddenly makes you feel consoled? That makes you feel better? You lost your son, he died in a terrible tragedy, but because these boys are going to keep Shabbat, you feel better? I don't understand. So he said to them the following. He said, do you know what I would give to have my son back for one more Shabbat? Do you know what I would give to be able to give my son a bracha one more time on Friday night, one more Shabbat? To sit at the table and sing the Zmirot with my son one more Shabbat? To hold him by his hand and walk to the shul, to the Beit HaKnesset, and have him sit next to me the way that he did when he would play with my strings and my talit as I'm davening. Do you know what I would do for one more Shabbat with my son? And 10 of these boys over here, they're all willing to keep one Shabbat. Do you know how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been waiting for these boys to keep one Shabbat? How much He's waiting for them to come close to Him? How much He's waiting for them to be near Him? And now they're coming close. And it should be a zechut from my son's neshama. He said, just as I would give anything in the world for one more Shabbat with my son, how precious it is in the eyes of Hashem that He's getting one Shabbat with all of these boys. HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves each and every one of us so dearly. He wants nothing more than each and every one of us should be so close to Him. And through Rosh Hashanah, Seder Yemei Tshuva, Yom Kippur, we get closer and closer and closer. And Sukkot solidifies that we are real, we're honest, it's true what we accomplished. And then Hashem says, tomorrow night, B'ezrat Hashem, He says, Kasha alai preidarchem, please, we're so close now. You accomplished so much. You got to that place. Don't leave me right now. Let's enjoy each other. Just 24 more hours, one more day. And then we'll dance all together with the Torah. You're going to hold it close to your heart. And when you hold it close to your heart, it's those words and those feelings and that ruchniut, that spirituality is going to go deep inside of you, and it will guide you for the rest of the year, B'ezrat Hashem. So tomorrow morning or this morning, in a few hours, when you finish davening, and you turn to your friend and you say, Piska Toiva, Pitka Tova. That means because we believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to give to each and every one of us the greatest gift of all, another year of life, filled with bracha, filled with tova, filled with briut, panasat tova, hatzlacha, success, and a year that we will fill our lives up with more Torah and kirvat Elokim litov, be close to Hashem, because that is the ultimate good. Chag Sameach.